Hi, and welcome to this breakdown of Richard III for the Advanced English HSC course. My name's Tim, and I'll do a quick analysis for you. I'll do it in a conversational style with no notes per se, but certainly if you just want to take what you need and pull the right bits out, then you can listen on and hopefully you'll get something out of it. I used to have my analysis well structured. If you look at my YouTube channel and go back in the day, you'll see it, but it was a bit pedestrian and a bit lame. But if you're having this conversational style, it might come across a bit more engaging, hopefully, anyway. And it certainly works well for the podcast. So let's have a look. Richard III and your HSC textual conversations. Well, I think we need to first understand that all forms of art are essentially examples of self-expression, writing, dance, music, all the arts, that is fundamentally validated by an audience. That's a very important point, right? The art itself needs that sort of circular continuum where the quality of the art or the context, the art itself, can only be valued once there's an audience. And that plays into the notion of the textual conversation. Because, sure, textual conversation, but one precedes the other. And that's where the one that comes second initially was the audience. They have to have an appreciation for it, right? That has to be there for there to be a conversation. Okay, and always remember that the Shakespeare rather than the Pacino always has... don't use the word upper hand, but has that sequential lead, so to speak. Okay, so let's keep on going. And looking at this text, a few ideas that I have. It's almost like a symbiotic relationship. You know, it's cyclical and they both feed off each other. But both composers and performers justify their art through those that respond to it. And that's why Shakespeare's tragedy, Richard III, and Pacino's Looking for Richard, illuminate the notion of the conversation. Okay? As they also embody the idea of something called the literary continuum. You might have heard the word literacy continuum, but essentially, the literary continuum works a little bit like this. It is a overlapping process, you see, because the comprehending of texts, okay, overlaps the composing of texts, and that is called the literary continuum, okay, sometimes called the literacy continuum, but you get the point there. How is this relevant to you? Obviously, you know the conversational bit from composer to comprehending, then he goes through and then the person hears it, responds, and okay, we get that. But there's something even greater. Okay, that is because the notion of the continuum, of course, would have also affected Shakespeare himself. He didn't begin this chain, being one of the great writers of our time. He's influenced by history, right? He reads history as well. He was a definite historian. So, Shakespeare, okay, also valued this continuum, okay? And then when he became an artist and a writer, a dramatist, Pacino, hundreds of years later, okay, takes on the continuum. Let's get back to a bit more analysis. I digress sometimes. Sorry about that. So we have to understand that it is this continuum that reflects on past societies and histories and the like, ultimately allowing us to question the cyclical nature of the relationship between performer and audience. In many ways, the arts, most notably drama, have made humanity more aware of themselves or ourselves, okay? Foreshadowing both our virtues and our vices. It is this quality that lies within us that allows a sense of resonance. Big word, resonance, you know that, right? Resonance and dissonance, you have to play with that language in order to get the higher range of marks for this module, okay? Resonance versus dissonance. So that allows for resonance, okay? Transcending these texts from one generation to the other. And there's your second big concept here. The text is timeless. How are the great texts always timeless? Well, they all embody the functionalities of what makes us tick. Our humanity. See, some people like to go the other way and go, oh, it's those deep pointed and, always relevant. And, well, sure, but what we connect to are the most human of ones, huh? Let's continue. So I told you I was going to digress. Yeah, so where can I go from here? So in this instance, the textual conversation between both, Shakespeare and Pacino would somewhat allow Oscar Wilde to even say, is this life imitating art or vice versa? So Shakespeare is not the first one to sort of, have this embody the continuum, so to speak, but, all writers and the greats alike had, understood it to some degree. And, if you're looking for a associated quote for your assignment, that'll be a ripper. Okay, of course, teachers can be narky, especially in Australia. They, you don't know who you're getting really, but yeah, some teachers don't like it when you have an essay and have an external quote. But yeah, I think it's brilliant, and most teachers, worth their weight in anything, will think it's excellent. Anyway, let's continue. So Shakespeare's use of characterization is superlative, and his ploy of using the paradox and juxtaposition within the character of Richard is a noted stylistic feature of his. Okay, so clearly, he's a centerpiece, antagonist and protagonist, really, which is somewhat rare. Shaped as a villain. Okay, you can see the antagonistic features clearly, in his traits, most notably how he manipulates Lady Anne. Okay, but that's what we all have a little bit of Richard in us, unfortunately, and see what I'm talking about? It's these little human elements, the ones that connect us, not the big, deep ones. So, Richard cajoles Anne by feigning gentleness and persistently ratifying her beauty. However, his true colours show when he twists the scene to play upon Anne's sense of guilt and obligation. Okay, the quote would be something for that would be, "Sweet saint, for charity be not so crust or cursed, maybe." This level of characterization is imperative to Shakespeare's text, as not only are his characters influenced by history, but also the depth and detail of his characters are such that they transcend time. Okay, again, I'll revert that and go, yeah, okay, depth and detail, but it's also little nuances in the surface that we all relate to. We might have, you might be looking at a great king lead a country, but no, it's the jealousy of his younger brother that we all connect to. These are the elements that make him so functional and so relatable. Let's keep on going. So I keep on losing my train of thought from where else, so I digress. But so let's go. Yeah, as I said, influenced by history, right? So they transcend time, and thus, always keeping his work relevant. But furthermore, the characters he creates, embody these fundamental traits, as I said, with the jealousy of as an example of one just then. But if you look at the role of the Duke of Buckingham, whilst integral to the narrative of the piece, his characterization or his character, in context of the others, wouldn't be a central one, by any stretch. But it's a good one for you guys to have a look at, because where you can draw the conversation is between Kimball and Pacino. They have their little, not duel, it's the other way around. They have their little moments of connection and discourse. And you will see a likeness in the Duke and Richard. Okay? And here, regardless of the time and the context, you see the textual conversation, right? Because it's the same human being at play, if I could use, for the lack of a better word, really, or a phrase. So let's keep on going. And just to further add on that element of characterization, it's not the amazing characters he creates all the time, which is clear, but it's also the little interplay between the characters that are important. And in this example, you'll see it because, as I said, Buckingham's not a major character, but it's his little interactions with Richard and others that make Shakespeare such a great writer. Because, I mean, obviously they're relatable and plausible, the rest of it, but these little nuances of connection are what makes us human and what makes Shakespeare a great writer and dramatist and a playwright. Yeah, so it's a fundamental component in shaping Richard will be the conversations and the discourse that goes in and around him. That's what shapes a character himself, anyway, right? So it's very important that the reader picks up on that. So the interplay between point of view of the protagonist and the antagonist is a critical element of Shakespeare's central character. Concurringly, Pacino applauds this developing the developing textual conversation into a textual sonata, really. Okay, I'm getting a bit highbrow there. Don't use that term sonata. Sound a bit like a wanker, really. Because as he illuminates the notion of resonance, okay, rather than dissonance, because it's not just a conversation. It is two voices together singing in praise. Okay, that's why I said sonata. It sounds a bit lame. That's too far. So both Shakespeare himself and Pacino share an ideology that lies upon how we see the world. Both composers value the significance of texts within society, but more importantly, how they shape society. Okay? It could be said that Shakespeare's scrutiny and reflection on humanity's relationship with the problematic notion of one's free will, which is a big concept in Richard if you haven't got it, is a common thread in his dramatic repertoire, but only through Richard III would one also question the autocratic discordance of royalty and aristocracy, right? Destiny, as we call it. Did Richard somewhat rely on destiny, or did he feel betrayed by destiny? Does it exist? Can you denounce it? Or in Richard's case, can you make sure it goes through? Such ideals and deliberations are the embodiment of our existence, both past and present. However, until it is shaped through the narrative ideal and narratives alike, and then characterized through, for example, self-pity, or even the dissembling of nature and the rest of it, we would not ever have a connection to it. Okay? So think about these elements. I know I've sort of left you half through a bit of a piece of analysis there, but I think I have to stop because it's, I keep my analysis of about 10 to 15 minutes max, so it's 13 minutes now. And yep, that's enough. YouTube says, your attention spans don't last more than 15, so no point. All right, take care, peace. Hope the HSC goes well. Thanks.